What is going on, YouTube world? Steve, Vinny, Dave. Insert Revolution Podcast, episode 109. May have another guest on. I don't know if he'll just show up or not. I don't know. But tonight, we'll talk about wax. Some of the recent growing frustrations and issues with Panini and their redemption process. How much would you trust opening old wax? Not talking 90s stuff that we'd like to open, and we already know the pitfalls of the gloss sticking together and really have to massaging the cards to mitigate the amount of paper loss. But I'm talking stuff in the last 10 to 15 years. Because again, you're not even going to find stuff like the old 03, 04, 05, probably limited. The first couple probably runs of NT, stuff of that nature. So we'll discuss that as we go along, and our other myriad of whatever we figure out along the way. Give you a choice from the normal, mundane, boring posers that try to do these things on specific nights that rhyme with Fool's Day. So, Steve, how's the past week been?
It's been a week.
This is correct. You
it's about the extent of it.
The obvious, but you have stated the obvious.
Work hadn't been too bad. Still trying to get accustomed to the house guest per se. But it's one of those. It's obviously been extremely quiet on the card front. Everybody knows why. Still trying to find the time. And yes, I know the nomenclature of making time. Well, for something of that length of time required to make a video for it, I need my house to be empty.
Yeah.
Which is also why I'm still sitting on Bradley Claus's, the ex-mayor of Main Street's package, because I want to make sure that I give that its due diligence and making sure that he gets his own separate independent video. But it's been sitting on the table with the collection purchase ever since I got it. And as the days progress, the more and more nervous I get, to be brutally honest. So, but it will happen. It will happen. It will happen. I've at least thanked him in advance for thinking of me. So I'm sure he's anxiously waiting for it to be opened. So I'll try and figure out a way to get that done sooner than later. But the collection purchase video will probably still be a little bit delayed. I know, Dave. I know. You're disappointed. I know.
But I know too that what your situation is now, and you've said it before too. The launch of videos, you need the house to be quiet.
Yep. Well, it'd also be different if both the wife and I didn't work from home. So
yeah,
because then it would be a little bit easier for me to kind of close myself off in the office and make it happen during the day in between conference calls or things along those lines. But the most important one is to try and give this guy his video, and yeah, it's still sealed. It hasn't even been opened. So that's extremely hard to have something sitting here and not open it. But I don't want to open it and then do a recap video, because that's just not the way stuff works.
No.
Not for something like that. So, and last I heard, or last that I know of, I think Vinny still has his, even though he's not in camera at the moment. Because we're trying to figure out a way to get him squared away. I know he was wanting to open it last week if time permitted, and then we were going to extract it out of the broadcast so he could upload it, but that didn't happen last week. So we'll have to figure out some time, because I know he wants to get that done. Unless I'm speaking out of context, but Vinny can confirm. I'm pretty sure you still have Brad's package sealed.
Correct. I'm hoping to do a video where I open that and a couple other things somewhere between the 12th of December and the end of the year, so I can get my video in. I don't know how I'm going to do it without dogs chirping and all the other things, but we're going to try to figure it out. It's not been easy lately.
So I guess you can fill us in your week. I will pass the baton and allow the soapbox to extend to you.
I miss caffeine. I miss caffeine a lot. Yeah.
3 days. It takes 3 days and you're good.
It was 6 days, and then I got a migraine from Hades today, and I took enough pills to knock over a hill, and it still didn't work. I drank 1 can of Mountain Dew, and it was gone. And that was the only thing that got rid of it. So it was just like, but I'll try not to drink it tomorrow, and I'll try not to drink it at all. I've been drinking Sprite. I got used to the taste. I've been drinking everything but orange juice. I had some coffee today, which was nice in the morning.
That's caffeine.
Well, that's not Mountain, dude. That's not caffeine. Let me just tell you, that ain't caffeine compared to Mountain Dew caffeine.
It is too. It's still caffeine. You can't say no caffeine and be drinking coffee unless you're drinking decaffeinated coffee. And what's the point?
It's not Mountain Dew caffeine. Let me put it to you that way.
No, that's sugar.
Well, whatever it is. But it work's just busier than all get out. I was talking to somebody today, and they're like, "All right." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I just didn't answer them for like 3 hours because I was that busy. Usually I have a quick second to grab my phone, reply back, and then throw it back down. But today was, my boss called me, and he's like, "We got to get these out." He's like, "Do whatever you do and work your magic, son." And I was like, "I'm on it, boss." And we rolled and got it done. I got 3 of them got rejected. So they're going to do those in the morning, and I'll have it all done by tomorrow. And because I want to get it before I go on vacation here. So that's big. And then I told him Monday and Tuesday, I'll check my email and I'll do a couple of things I have to do because I have no backup. And then Wednesday, I'm off the grid. I am not on the grid Wednesday, and we're off Thursday and Friday. So I'm like, with those days, no. It's just like I need a break, and that's that. So, what's up, Jeff? What's up, Ty? What's up, Paul? What's up, Joe? Thought I'd do that too, and then I'll show a card. This card, I was stoked to get it.
All right, hurry up because I got a picture to show, since I was just actually thinking about this.
So that's one of his XRCs. Stevie Y's in this set. There's no back, but I wanted it graded, and it's in a baggie, probably because of the size. But it's a 6. It looks decent. I don't see any creases. There's a scratch on the case, but whoopity do. It looks good. It crosses one off the list. I'm pretty happy. So I'm very it's 1983 juniors, so that's one off the list. I don't know about that, Joe. I don't know about that. One of my biggest scores ever was driving to PA, and I was off the grid, and somebody had an ingrained number to 5, and they had it marked as $2.99. Buy it now for $30, and I took it down on the chance that they didn't realize what they had, and they didn't. So I got I think it's mahogany, might be oak. One of them, maybe it's mahogany. It's numbered to 5, and for $30, a number to 5 card, that ain't bad. So I was off the grid then. I just want to be off the work grid where I don't get any calls.
There we go. I was like, there we go. There's the clarification.
Yeah. I don't want to call. I don't want my cell phone to ring because I have a personal phone and I have a work phone. And my work phone has a tendency to tether me because it locks me to them. And that's why they got it for me. And I've had it for 12 years now. From my first flip phone with them to I think I got an iPhone now. I think I had a BlackBerry for a month. And then
I had one of those.
Yeah. I got my BlackBerry. And then 2 months later, they're like, we're switching from BlackBerries. We're going to iPhones. And I've had an iPhone ever since. So other than that, same old. Dealing with the pups. They just woke up. I need to change their sleeping patterns.
Do you think?
Yeah. It's because I'm in the basement office. So what I used to do is I used to walk in there and go, hey, what you doing? And I would just bug them all day long. Better half doesn't do that. She lets them snooze. And thusly, why I have the problem at night. Because they're like, hey, where you been all day?
Yeah. Sounds like you need to set an alarm or something and kind of make yourself present from time to time throughout the day. But
I'll wear a hoodie next week, Paul, if that makes you feel better.
So in relation to the collection, I had shared that the guy is quote unquote building a home gym for him and his boys.
Yeah.
And I kind of had been thinking about him. I was planning on shooting him a text today and I didn't get around to it. So obviously he thought, his ears must have been ringing. So he sent me this today.
Oh, that looks freaking awesome.
So that initial payment funded that.
He did some good work with that initial payment.
Yeah.
He didn't just buy a couple boxes or anything. Like, hey, you can jump on those, and here's like a little, not the balance beam, but the thing you jump over, and foot quickness is like, you get your money's worth all in the first payment.
Yeah, that's those weights with rubberized stuff on them. Those are solid.
Yeah, so it was one of those in which it's like we had an agreement. He would keep me posted on the progress, and give us a reason to keep in touch, and the fact that I would make sure that I did record a video, which, like I said, I will in time. and he'll be one of the first ones to know that it's being uploaded outside of other individuals, like the two other people that are on this screen currently. Make sure Dave is aware that it's coming. I'll even make sure he knows how long it is so he can, put forth set the time aside to be sure that he can dedicate to watching me ramble and show a bunch of cards of the same player for at least probably 40 minutes.
Well, you're showing somebody you collected for how many years and that you enjoy and you have a vested interest in, instead of some shitbag quarterback from West Virginia that drafted to the Panthers and it's supposed to be a better investment than the Arizona quarterback, which right now both of them look like good investments, as it were. So
I still liked Kerry Collins though, so I could still enjoy watching something like that. Just saying.
But Will Greer, not so much.
This is true. 4 times.
4 times.
4 times. Yes, is he flipping burgers now? Or is he still third stringing it somewhere?
He was with Dallas, I thought, third string in the practice squad. So
yeah, 4 times.
Again, that Ben DiNucci was in there too. And now he's in the new XFL. So
yeah, 4 times. This is why I will never state anything as it pertains to opinions, because I'm not willing to hedge my brain on anybody's windfall or lack thereof on something like that. All of ours is typically hindsight. Case in point, Brady Contenders rookie autos that you could have gotten for like $20 all day long back in 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
Until he, started. But it's like, I think the only thing that all of us have agreed upon, though, if you choose to quote unquote invest in a player from the football perspective, pick a quarterback. You may get lucky, you may not. It's one of those in which you just don't know, but at the same time, you have a better chance of doing well, especially, there's got to be some factors in there. Drafted, knowing that they've been drafted to eventually become the starter in the next 1 to 2 years, or the current starter type situation. But, you run into situations, if you know they're going to be the starter going into the season, you're going to pay a little bit of a premium. So you start buying in a little bit higher than what you would if they were riding the pine for a few seasons before they started. But that's pretty much your only safe, quote unquote, bet. Then you got to look at the team too.
That's the one thing. You look at the system, you look at the stability. Again, Kenny Pickett going to the Steelers. Tomlin's been there forever. Again, if you would have 2-3 years of atrociousness, then maybe that change is over. But again, they're not going to get rid of him right now. Malik Willis going to Tennessee. I really don't see Vrabel going anywhere. He's pretty solid ground there.
He didn't look too bad either.
No, again, you knew his shortcomings out of the gate with throwing. There's some accuracy issues, but there's a couple plays in that Kansas City game where his guys just flat out let him down. They were right there and they just dropped the ball. So, again, he had 2 starts and I think he had 130 yards passing. That looks horrible. but he would have had more had his stupid receivers caught perfectly thrown balls where you can only do what you can do. You can't control everybody around you. So I still think down the road, again, give him time to catch up. He didn't have an offense at Liberty that was NFL verbiage. It was, you're great, you make plays. Receivers, couple you run flies, couple just sort of scatter shot across until you get open. And if there's nobody open, fucking run. And that's what he did. I mean, he great numbers, but it wasn't a pro-style offense. So give him some acclimation to that, the verbiage, the personnel, knowing what's going on. Get him receivers that know what they're doing. And I think he'll be fine. Again, you got Derrick Henry. You don't need to have 400 yards passing. You can win with 150, 200. Pass when you need to. You got Derrick Henry. So, and then I'd worry more about like a Desmond Ridder for Atlanta. Was it Corral for Carolina? And then whoever Washington, I think Washington took somebody too at the end of the fourth or fifth. It's like those guys I'd worry about because there's always instability in those programs. There doesn't seem to be like a long-term. Even when Dan Reeves was there, it wasn't like he was there for 15 years. He had his fleeting moments of success, and then after they shit the bed, guess what? He's gone. In 02, 03, whatever that was. So do your research, know what you're buying into, not just because somebody says, oh, he's a good quarterback. Well, put on some tape. Put on, if they go to Green Bay, most of the time that's going to be a decent situation. You go to the 49ers, most of the time that's a decent situation. You go to New England, you're sort of a fantasy albatross, or you're a hobby albatross there. You've got the lineage of Tom Brady being there, but at the same time, you're not going to probably be a tenth of Tom Brady. So people asking 15, 20, 30,000 for Mac Jones cards. I've been out in California with Mr. Snoop Doggy Dogg. Some of that bud. Smoking hardcore. Because Mac Jones and his 210 yards a game and one touchdown, that's not even in the fucking universe of those type of prices.
Yeah, I think they're forgetting the mantra, puff, puff, pass.
Yeah.
Not puff, 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 puff until you're finished.
Yeah.
Puff, puff, puffity puff. Puff, puff.
Oh, damn. I'm sorry.
You wanted some?
It's just mind-boggling because it's every show, and then these $50,000 challenges. Muddle, come on. Here's 50 grand. Go buy cards. Then when you sell them, give us our 50K back, and then you can keep the profits for doing a good job to promote whatever. Is that what's going on? I don't know, but it sure seems odd that all of a sudden all these influencers got $50,000 to blow on all this stuff.
I think it's a high probability that they're all in connection and, they're trying to create a facade that is not fully accurate in a lot of situations. But those who have half a brain know this, and others refuse to accept the fact that it's us talking about it is creating negativity about the hobby. No, it's the fucking reality. All you have to do is have half a brain and realize what the fuck is going on.
Just wonder about it. I mean, honestly, they say we have this. Well, where'd you get the money? You're talking about hashtag transparency. Where'd you get the loot? Is that your loot? Not your loot? Just
Transparency? Wow. No, come on, Vinny.
I
Really?
know.
I know they claim it, but yet they are the shadiest, most dark corner, dark alley type thing that you could possibly fathom.
It's like the one guy, Striker Breaks, he talks about this guy, Trenchcoat guy, how he gets his boxes ahead of time. And it's just funny to listen to it because he's just jagging everybody because he gets it from somewhere, but he's not going down on friggin' Michigan Avenue and down on 8 Mile and hitting somebody. Well, first of all, there ain't nobody down there selling cards. I'll tell you that.
Well, with the price points, maybe they are.
Well, yeah, that's true. Gacking somebody for them and stealing them, that's a possibility. But I've been to places on 8 Mile and it's fine. I've been there and I'm like, I've seen worse. I've seen better. Every place has their mythical land of whatever. And I've been down there, and 8 Mile isn't as bad. It's not great, but there's some nice stuff there, historic stuff. It's just a shame.
I'm gonna play hypothetical though. Depending on so this person that you're talking about, I don't care who it is. I'm not gonna repeat it because I don't remember. But trench coat person, depending on situation and circumstance, you don't know. Breakers, and I'm using the air quotes, do have connections with some distributors. They do distribute to some breakers. Whether or not they break it or not, that's not my place to pass judgment.
Bingo.
But depending on where they live in correlation to the distributor, that means they could actually get their stuff early.
Yeah.
If they're a day shipping time from the distributor, so technically, yeah, they got it early. And just because something is posted as go live, that's expected.
Mhm.
It could be a day or two earlier. It could be a day or two later. But nobody bothers to take that into consideration.
Yeah,
For anybody who works in an industry in which you deal with manufactured goods, whether it be internal or contract manufacturer, sometimes you get shit early, sometimes you get shit late. Yeah. It's called estimated time of arrival, ETAs, for a reason. Estimated. Same thing with release dates. It is estimated. But, let's not be logical or anything, but, whatever.
Two things. If I lived in Buffalo or if I lived in Pittsburgh, Steel City has a retail shop right there. I'd be going to that retail shop the day before, the day of, and I'd be getting my stuff if I live close. Same with Dave and Adams if I live there. Now, BBCE probably doesn't, I don't know what they're carrying of their stuff. That's like the big three when I think about it. And then there's Blowout, which I think is in Virginia, North Carolina,
somewhere over Virginia.
Then Chicagoland, that's another big one that I've heard of. If I live next to places that have retail stores that are going to have them, or my local LCS, I'd be there grabbing them.
Time out.
Okay.
Time out. 2 thumbs up. Yes, you good? We're going to bring on a special guest making his IRP debut. The one, the only. Let's welcome
Gentlemen.
Paul to the show.
Paul.
Hello.
Welcome, sir. Welcome.
I would have been on earlier. I had to go buy lottery tickets, so
Hey,
part of my routine.
Hashtag invest.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, it's true to brand, Paul, as you always say, true to brand. I love it. He even does it in his personal life. It's even better.
Yeah. The original two commenters on the show on the screen at the same time. Pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
So Dave, this is what I think we should do. Let's do this.
Wow. Wow.
Whoa. Hey now.
There we go. Hey, credit where credit is due.
Oh.
The first two to hang, be there every show. Paul always tried to make it even when time didn't really permit it. We're gonna give both these guys the credit. We're gonna let them be on top. Pardon the fun.
Well then.
I'm gonna shut up now.
You still been saying that for months. You're going to shut up, but you haven't yet. Talk about some cards.
I haven't said anything about cards. So
well, we're hoping you slip up.
But before we get too much into the topic, so Paul, thanks for joining. Of course, give us a rundown of Expo.
It wasn't as big as I thought it would be. Is the first thing. A lot of hockey, baseball, basketball. There was quite a bit. You did just get to see the hobby luminaries like Jeff Wilson. Got to see him making some content. I mean, it was. I'm not sure what take they were on when they're trying to make a deal, haggling over exchange rate, but so I got to see that. It was. Didn't get to see anything that I really wanted to see, but I got to hang out with Joe, Dr. Exclusives, Yannick, Carlos, met Bobby, Eric, and Josh Peckham. He was another character I met. So it was 4 days. I used my air miles, so hotel and lodging were free. But it was a good time.
So I have to ask, were you there really for the cards, or were you there to actually meet and interact with the guys that you've gotten to know over the years?
If there had been cards that I was looking for, it would have been awesome. It would have been the icing on the cake. But getting to meet these guys and have a coffee or a beverage or go for supper. I mean, that was a big part of it. So kind of took me back to my high school days. You go to a card show with a buddy, and you just kill 4 hours and go through stuff and make fun of each other, and that kind of thing.
Well, I knew you were looking forward to going, so I wanted to kind of get your take. But I'm sure you're glad to be home at least for a little bit before you get shipped off again here before too long.
Well, yeah, it's funny you should mention that. It's a week tonight. I'll be watching this up in the Arctic Circle, so it's I get 6 sleeps in my bed and then off again. So
it could always be worse. Could always be worse.
I truly believe that, and then you can look surprised when it isn't.
Okay, touche. Touche.
Nice little happy accidents,
Yeah. I'll give you that one, Paul. I'll give you that one. So Dave. Sorry, Paul. Go ahead. Finish up.
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead. I don't want to hog it.
No. By all means, hog away.
Well, so this job up north, I mean, it's got the potential to turn in the shining, like a little red rum, mental health up there. So it can mess with your mind if you let it. Like this next trip might get 2-3 hours of sunlight at the start, so it's pretty hectic. So it was nice to get away to Toronto, When I left Edmonton, it was -30, and I got to Toronto, and it was shorts weather. So that was exciting.
Yeah, the weather's definitely been changing the last week, 10 days here. It's not been really pleasant. Where we're starting where we left off last winter. It's not super cold, but I think what would it have been? Tuesday or Wednesday? Man, that was a brutal, just the wind. The wind, the cold, the snow coming down. It was 40, 50 mile an hour winds and just not fun. And then for like the last week, it's been nothing but like, okay, here's like 4 inches of snow. Here's 3 inches of snow. Here's another 4 inches of snow. Instead of like, just dump a foot, be done with it, shovel, have a couple days of just nothing, and then another storm comes through. I'll deal with that. I don't want to shovel every day, twice a day. That's not a plan I want to be in. But yeah, we haven't had the bone chilling cold yet. I know it's on the way though. I mean, we had that pop in the middle of October where it's just shit. I mean, it was like 5 degrees and fucking ice, snow, just miserable. I'm like, this is way, way too early for down here. I mean, Halloween's like the barometer. I'll take Halloween storms, and there on out. So we had that storm in '91 where we got 2 feet of snow in Superior, Wisconsin. So I'm good. I know we'll get that type of weather at that time. You push 2 weeks before, you're pushing your luck. So glad you got to experience sunlight. I won't say civility because I mean I know you were in Toronto, so there wasn't probably a lot of civility, but I mean you got to town or city life in shorts weather because shorts weather is the best. I hate pants. I fucking use them. Anytime shorts are available to be worn, it's gonna be the wardrobe key. So
Well, it's actually funny. I had a couple of Royale with cheese moments in Toronto. The first one was the squirrels are black. This blew me away. I didn't know that was a thing. And then, people are actually nicer. I was expecting like a New York style, they'll stab you to get you out of their way type thing. I didn't bring my nunchucks, so I was pleasantly surprised at the civility there. So
well, not everybody's gonna be like Amit and Kent and be very quiet and calm and courteous and considerate. You run into the Carloses and the Erics who are belligerent and just foul mouthed of their own ilk, trying to take after Steve. And again, Boston. I mean, you can't even say anything right. So I mean, he's probably speaking like a fifth language at 2 people up there may be able to pick up like every third word if they're lucky. So
well, it was funny. We were sitting there at the food court, and Eric started talking to a kid beside him, and he said, "Well, the kid kept looking at me," and I'm like, "It's probably because he said like car keys or something," and he was just mystified at the slang or the accent. So
yeah, just look at like what. You gotta slow down, Eric. Because he looked like he had a good time too. I haven't seen that many pictures from him on Instagram and ever in like a row. It was just like pop, 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 everything. And like he got to go to like a hockey game, a Toronto Maple Leafs game. So
you see, I'm starting to question Eric's devotion to the Bruins. He went to the Leafs game. He bought a Maple Leafs hat. He was standing in line for like Montreal Hall of Famers. Like, I'm really questioning his whole "I'm a Bruins fan." So he's a man of many complexities.
Well, Marcel didn't have him thrown in jail, so that's one thing. He actually got to spend more than 5 minutes with him, so the restraining order must be, revoked.
I
I
saw
did
that.
notice that. And he had a smile on his face, so unless he was, threatening poor Marcel Dion, or he was paying Carlos gave him some money from the likes to let him tolerate Eric for a while. It's always a possibility. But
Marcel, blink 3 times if you're being held against your will. It's coming down to that type of thing. So
Let's just say, Eric is a never-ending lie. A lie hidden behind another lie and a third lie. I'm curious to know, though, Paul. You mentioned one of your videos, the recap videos, that you saw something in a showcase, but then on closer inspection, you saw on the tag a rogue number that on first inspection you did not see, and then were sort of taken aback by this. And then,
yeah,
what was it? What were you looking at? What caught your eye? Because again,
it was a Connor McDavid. I think it's out of Black Diamond. It was like an autograph card, and the price was what I thought was $450 was decent for that card. And then it's sort of like a weird smudge, and then once you I have bifocals, and once I could see the thing in my bifocals, that wasn't just a dollar sign at the front. There was like a one sort of jammed in a funny angle. I'm like, I'm nowhere near even talking to this guy about this card. Like, you want to use comps, it's fine, but yeah, no, it was time to just hand it back and walk away.
I figured when you said that, it's got to be McDavid, because there's nobody else Oilers wise that you were, I think, looking for that would have even fit that description.
Yeah,
all I could
no.
think of, it's got to be a McDavid something, but I don't know what. Because again, it's not going to be like a Cup rookie patch auto, because you know what market that's in. That's
Yeah.
There's not going to be any hidden numbers there. You're gonna have more numbers than like a lottery down the road.
Yeah, and like this card, I've looked at them, and they come and pass by, and I mean, if it was $450, you know what, that it's a solid price. I've seen him go for that. That would have been fine. There was a card on the first day that was still there when I left on Sunday. That it was a Leon Draisaitl, numbered to 2, and the price he wanted. I just asked, how firm are you? And I mean, it was 2 minutes after the doors opened, so he pretty much told me to go fly a kite, and I'm like, okay. So I did a couple flybys just to see if it was still there, and yeah, it was still there. He'd move it around, and I'm like, no, for that price, I mean, it's Leon Draisaitl. Nobody's even looking at this thing, so I'm sure it'll be there next show or next time I go. So.
As a lot of people have said, people are still high off their minds and sitting on 2020 prices on a lot of things, it seems. But, it is what it is, per se. I say that a lot sometimes, but, maybe I shouldn't. But in all practical purposes, it really does fit in almost every situation. But I'm guessing you did pick up some stuff.
Yeah. I don't know if they'll show up all right, but no.
Well, here, we'll make this easy for you. We'll bring you up big so you can show them off.
Yeah. These are inserted in the Upper Deck Extended. They're like a Black Diamond exclusive to or throwback. So, just a fun little. Goes back to like 0506, McDavid's rookie year, or Crosby's rookie year. I had the Ovechkin here around here. Some of them are out of 1 in 400, and I picked those up, and I was happy. I did pick up a Doug Weight. I'm not sure where it is. It's around here somewhere. But yeah.
Sound
some
like
cool
me.
stuff.
You start sitting stuff places, and then you're like, okay, what the hell did I do with it? That's what happens when you have too much crap sitting around.
Yeah.
So, Carlos, out of curiosity, since you just threw this out there, and I'm guessing you're alluding to what I was stating earlier about, some of the grumblings from others out there, people are still sitting kind of high on 2020 prices or whatever. Is that what you were alluding to? That it was more along the lines of you kind of saw people who had pricing like for the now, but yet others you may have come across that were still kind of sitting in the past, hoping to be able to get more meat off the bone per se for what they have into something. And how many times? So I'll ask Carlos. Uh, this question will be for both of you, Paul. You and Carlos. Carlos will have to type it. But did you hear anybody ask what they had into something?
Oh yeah. They're explaining, they're explaining the economics of their whole display case and how that on this card that they couldn't, it was going to make or break them if they moved whatever it was. And you just kind of roll your eyes and go, yeah, whatever. Or I did look at a couple of cards, and guys are like, "Oh, I should have priced it higher." I'm like, "Well, I'm not buying it at this, so why would you think that telling me that I should be getting a deal and paying for this price that I think is too much should be a thing?"
Yeah, well, a lot of that's relative, and it's we've talked about it before that there are times in which we've all come across situations in which we felt like we may or may not have overpaid for something. However, in the scheme of things, if it actually is for the collection, then at the end of the day, did we actually overpay? It's all a relative type term. I know Vinny has stated that there's times in which he's paid more than what he would hope, but at the same time, if you're knocking something off high on the list, it's all relative. And you know, as player collectors, all of us sitting here on the panel are. I mean, yes, I know you collect the Oilers too, but your main guy is Connor McDavid and has been for a long time.
Yeah.
But
Well, and
at this, go ahead.
Well, and I think with some of the stuff that I was looking at where guys were telling me that they should have priced it for more, I'm like, I wait long enough on eBay, it'll come up for 20% of what you're asking. It'll happen. So you would get that, whereas, the Carnival Barker step right up when it win a prize for the little lady type mentality was definitely there.
Yeah, I know Vinny's been to enough shows over the years. Hadn't been one to in a while. So I would be curious though, in the event the next time you get a chance to go, if some of the same things that have been said previously from others is still kind of rampant.
I think the last show I was at was in May, because that's when I posted a bunch of stuff on IG. The next day was the Better Half's birthday, and then we started to do the stuff for the Stars. And I just was, that IG became like a back thing that I didn't worry about very much. And it was like, okay. And I haven't been to any show because I started saving money, hopefully, to go to the National and to the Expo. So local shows have been put on hold temporarily to try to bank cash. Instead of spending $100 there, I put the $100 away and save it for the expo or the show. And I'm finding out from Paul and
Ghost, be quiet.
That's driving right now. Driving.
Oh, that's dry.
Chill, buddy. It's. I'm finding out the expo. I could probably build a lot of my sets, my insert sets, by going into the value boxes. So, Lemieux probably not a ton, but building my sets, the expo might be a place to get some of that stuff, depending on what I have done already. Because I can go on the ComC and for 59 cents, it's like going in a dollar bin anywhere else. ComC is like the endless card show. I got that thing on my phone. I hit every couple hours. I hit what's new, and it's never stops. Just like these dogs, they never stop.
Every couple hours. Are you mental?
Every half hour. Okay.
Hey Steve, what's going on?
ComC, you figure people made consignments at the expo, so there's been 2 Lemieux that popped up in the last 2 days that I didn't have, and I grabbed both of them.
No, I get it. I'm giving you crap. I appreciate the dedication more so out of everybody else these days, because I live vicariously through everybody else more so, which is why I can appreciate people taking the time to post stuff. I have more and more people sitting there like, you need to post more on Instagram, especially when I spew and I share cards that I haven't posted on Instagram and they're only out there on YouTube. But it's like, there's a part of me that always goes back to what I always say, be careful who you let in your inner sanctum. It's like, do you really want to show everything? It's not like I'm trying to create an aura or, become an Instagram celebrity. Not to mention it wouldn't happen because it's Terrell Davis. It's not like it's, Barry Sanders or Tom Brady or
Mac Jones.
Hello, my child. But it's one of those in which I keep everything in the boxes so frequently. It's almost like a task to pull them out and look through stuff. It's like, okay, what do I want to share? Do I want to go this route? Do I want to share this? Do I want to share that? And I overthink it sometimes because that's what I do. I think Dave is rubbing off on me.
You see, Instagram can be whatever you want it to be, and I totally get the overthinking it. I have an idea of how I want a picture to look, and you realize an hour and a half later that you've taken 75 shots of this card that nobody would ever put that amount of time to, but I feel like I need to unlock the inner beauty. So, I mean, your mileage may vary. Do what you want with Instagram and be happy with it, right? No judgments.
Well, and that's the thing. To be brutally honest, Instagram would be 10 times easier than making or finding the time to record a video. But, it's the video can show more excitement, and, you're getting more of the facial reactions and things along those lines that you can't always put into words. How easy is it to put into words how truly excited and appreciative you are of something that you picked up for whatever reason, or somebody sent you something, than what you can do in a video. It's like when Vinny and Better Half and C sent the Christmas stuff out last year, and sitting here live on the RRP, you got a true, legitimate, real reaction. And yes, I posted the cards on Instagram, but it's like, I really appreciate this, but it doesn't go as far, in my opinion. But on the flip side, I hate doing videos too. I used to enjoy them back in the day. And most of my watch later list, Paul, I crap you not, are your videos. Yours and Yannick's.
You sure know how to butter a guy up. Like, really, like you smooth talker, you.
Me? No. I'm the foul mouth guy, remember?
That is correct.
I'm still,
No,
I still think somebody's confused, but whatever. Anyways.
but it's funny, like Instagram and YouTube. It's a nice way to hobby without spending money. Like you can just pick up a bunch of cards, throw them off, and if anybody looks at them, great. If not, then yeah. I've had some pretty cool conversations on Instagram, like through Messenger. You know, people say, "Hey, I remember that," or you know, they if it's a rare card, they're like, "Oh, I have the other one," or "I know where the other four are," or whatever. And so there's been some cool conversations that way, like through Instagram. That's what I appreciate about it more than maybe say YouTube.
Well, YouTube took a turn for the worst when they got rid of DMs or, private messages, because you can converse through comments, but it's there for everybody to see. So it's like they took a step backwards and got rid of that capability, to where I've had more engaging conversations, like you said, via Instagram in casual conversation, or, because of something that you post and it creates a conversation. And then there's other times it's like, okay, are they actually interested, or are they trying to like feel for information? They trying to get something out of you? So it's like you still kind of have to tread lightly.
Well, and that's for sure. I mean, I get you get the DMs saying, "Hey, you'd want to join my break." I mean, that automatically gets you blocked by myself. So, but there's been some weird conversations, and I'm like, I'm not sure where you're trying to go with this, but there's some conversations. Guy may come off a little weird, but then you start talking to other people, and you find out, oh well, he's just that way. So. But I totally get what you mean. Like, there are some weirdos out there. There's no sugarcoating that.
Yeah,
So.
I find it interesting that lately it seems I get random follows and then random messages from females. It's like, okay, so if you follow me on Instagram, you see the picture. It's me laying on a couch with my kid. Like, they're maybe four or 5 months old, and we're actually asleep on the couch. It's one of my favorite pictures. But it's one of those in which, do I need to start like adding in my I'll call it my bio, happily married, so you'll leave me alone? No, I don't want to go join your freaking OnlyFans page. I don't want to see your pics. I don't care.
Just
I'm
send them the
perfectly
link
happy.
just send them the link to the IRP OnlyFans, and
Yeah,
Dave
but see,
speaks in all their glory.
Dave has those links. He hasn't bothered to share them, so it's one of those. I just kind of let him go with the flow and let it be. I don't ask questions. This is Dave we're talking about. Of course, then again,
It's better.
Could lead to, hashtag kidneys, allegedly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, then you wouldn't need the kidneys. You have the OnlyFans.
This is true. And Carlos, you probably have a point. If I put that, they're like, is that like the opposite? Is he really happily married? And Ty, by the way, my wife is in the shower, so she's not going to be going in here.
Which one, Ty?
I was like, I was going to ask the same question. Which one are you referring to? There is a couple. There are a few.
I was gonna say there's at least 2
Yes.
right off the top of my head there, but I'm gonna have to go in to the doctor at some point and get the old allergy test because there's something, I don't know what it is, but I'm definitely allergic to something now that is not like the last month or so. It's been brutal.
Wow, you actually gonna take my advice?
I don't know when, but it's I'm like itching my hands nonstop.
You know that's an indication that you're supposed to be coming into some money.
Well, I hope so because there's like hives on my hands right now. So
Okay, I didn't say anything about hives. If your hands start itching, the palms of your hands start itching, you're supposed to be coming into some money. But if you see something going on, then there's a different story.
let's see if you can.
Yeah, it's red. Looks a little swollen.
Yeah, it's horrible lighting. So I mean, it's like right. You can see that color.
Yeah, sounds like it's definitely. Go to the doctor, man. Get you a cortisone shot.
Oh, fuck, just brutal. So I don't know. That's what I'm dealing with. Trying to figure that. What can I eat that doesn't fucking kill me? And it's like today all I had was, so I don't know now if it's like a gluten thing. So I had a pasty. So
Gluten allergies wouldn't just now kind of come out, I wouldn't think.
I don't know.
A funny story on the gluten thing. So 2017, I picked up this just a little cough, just a little, and there was like a sinus thing.
Hmm.
Went to the doctor, got a whole bunch of nasal sprays, da 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 da. I'm at my wit's end. It's January 2020. The world as we know it today is not even on anybody's mind. I started watching YouTube videos and I saw a thing on chiropractors doing sinuses. Well, I had like 2 days off to get something done. I couldn't get in to see a chiropractor, so I went and saw an acupuncturist. And she said, just, yeah, I can plug you in. We'll hook you up, but cut out wheat and dairy for like 2 weeks. Just see what happens. And I did, and ever since then, I'm allergic to gluten. Before I could eat it, no problems. And then my little and my little cough went away. So,
Is it tied specifically because gluten is so generic of a term? Because like my wife is not allergic to gluten, but anything like with brewer's yeast in it, she will freaking blow up like a freaking balloon. So it's like gluten is so generic. So I mean, because it could be certain sort of processed flour or, like I said, brewer's yeast, or something. To me, things have gotten so detailed as it pertains to like testing and stuff. You got to be a little bit more specific than well, gluten. Everything needs to be gluten free. Well, but does it? Could you not get to a little bit more specific?
Yeah, something needs to happen because I'm just the whole time, this whole fucking episode, I'm itching my hands. Just nonstop.
Could you have gotten into something though?
That's the thing. It's like, no, this has happened for how many weeks now? This is, I think, about the 4th week. And I at first I thought it was going to be like chocolate because that's the same with Paul. What he said, the cough. Certain chocolates, if I start eating them, I will cough, and right away I'll start hacking like the loogie up immediately. So I don't know. It's I thought it was that, and then it's like, okay, hopefully it goes away. No, have a sandwich. But then, like, I have them when we went to the volleyball games, and it's nothing. And the pasty tonight was basically the only food. It's, I don't know. You try to narrow it down, and maybe it's the soap. It's like, no, I'm sensitive, fucking dye free. Everything's free. Detergent's been free forever because, again, I've always had like the stupid sensitive skin, the eczema, and then the dryer sheets have been free for 15 years too. So I mean, it's not like all of a sudden I got Gain and Tide, and I'm like, yeah, let's go.
So you mentioned eczema, though. It's one of those in which that may be part of the issue. Like,
I'm sure.
something else has caused it to flare up to where it's no longer good enough to just do what you're doing. You may actually have to start taking something for it. What is it, like atopic dermatitis, which is a form of eczema, but there's like 15 million different kinds too.
Mm-hmm.
But for something that's now, you've done all this for so many years because you've had eczema per se, then maybe it's to the point to where there's been an additional added chemical imbalance in your system to where it's no longer good enough to just do like the dye free or that type of stuff for your soap and all that kind of crap. Just throwing it out there.
And I used that last week, the old Zyrtec, and it seemed to work, but it fucking knocked me out. I got to find if I can find something that's a non-drowsy, that's perfect. And I know there's a couple out there, but I gotta, again, find them. You can't have all drowsy all the time for that shit.
Why not? You always talk about not getting enough sleep.
This is true, but any of that nighttime shit or the drowsy shit, it's always, as you guys probably have the same effect. You take it like, let's say 6 o'clock at night. Do whatever you're gonna do. It's like, okay, it's gonna be an early night. I'll go to bed by 8. Still, that next morning you wake up and you're still groggy and you still don't feel like you normally would in the morning. You get up, you're like, fuck, I don't want to get up, but then you start getting into your day, and it's like a normal day. With that shit, for me, it takes till either noon or like really early afternoon before that stuff starts. I can like move past it. So I hate taking that stuff all the time and relying on it because it just jacks with your system so much.
Well, and that's the issue, though, with stuff that you take for allergies. Honestly, most allergy medication can make you drowsy, even if it says non-drowsy.
Yeah.
It's because some people can take, what is it? Benadryl. Some people, it's like, it doesn't really do much. But then there's like others that turns them into speed freaks. The others it like knocks them out. So, it's like, I get what you're saying from a happy medium perspective. It's like,
yeah, the Benadryl just fucking derails me pretty much within 20 minutes. I'm absolutely just fucking done.
But my biggest concern for you, though, is because Zyrtec is an allergy medicine. It's like, are you Dr. Hockey Oracle now? Oh, thanks, Paul. I'm wondering if it's allergy related or if it has something to do like your eczema has changed. to something, I don't want to say more sinister, but something that's a little bit more reactive to something, to where it's causing you the added discomfort and the hives and the the red coloration in your hands. I used to play a doctor on TV. That's why I know some of this stuff. In between, all my family members, I've had a run in with almost everything, it seems, these days. So
Well, it's nice to know you have some practical experience with the advice you're offering.
it's not always 100% on point, because I'm not a medical doctor by any stretch of the imagination, but I did take a little anatomy and physiology throughout school, because at one point I actually wanted to be a doctor. But, that only goes so far. Everything else has to do with practical interactions and discussions with other people that I've been close to in my life.
For some reason, so out of curiosity, did anybody see the Dahmer series on Netflix?
I have not watched it.
I'm about
Okay,
halfway through.
so I'm just going to let the joke slide because nobody's going to get it. But anyways,
Other than the fact that people are tired of all the documentaries related to Dahmer, it's like everybody wants their piece of the pie. And why all of a sudden it's been so. There's been multiples over the last few years for whatever reason. And it's not like surrounded around like an anniversary or anything along those lines, other than the fact that I think maybe because he was a little too sick and twisted, people are still trying to figure out him. I don't know. That guy was a little off his rocker. Well,
What I'm waiting for the John Wayne Gacy ones to start tumbling out. I mean, we've seen Bundy, because there's a couple different ones for him. I don't know how many of the Dahmers we had. I finally got my David Koresh one, so I was happy with that. And
I've seen multiple different ones for
John
Waco.
Wayne Gacy.
Of course, I watched Waco play out in real time, only because it's, an hour and a half, 40 minutes south of where I lived at the time. No, I didn't drive down there or anything, but, because it was happening local in the state, you couldn't get away from it. It was everywhere, on every station.
My dad,
24/7.
before he went to work, and I was in. So again, this has a little bearing on how I am or why I am the way I am today. You can sort of like put the pieces of the puzzle together. He would throw a blank tape in.
Do I
And
need to
just-
sit down first before you go any further, Dave?
This will probably come as no surprise to you. Put a blank tape in, and I said, "Hey, every day you record CNN." And up until the point that I think it was what, mid to end of February, maybe early March, when they burned it down and ransacked it or whatever, ransacked it. And, every day, I basically, I got schools like 2 blocks away. I'd run home just to like see if was this tape worth watching? Was there going to be something on there that was going to be worthy of my time? Because again, it was just so fascinating. You're like, you didn't have this at all. This wasn't like something, oh man, like today, if you turn on Fox 11 out in LA, oh, there's a car chase. I'm going to watch them no matter what, because I love car chases. But some people are like, it's not on the freeway and they're not booking it, or they're not going to crash in town or in the side streets. I ain't going to watch it. That ain't worth my time. I'm going to watch every one of them. I will watch until somebody crashes and cars flip and burn and havoc is caused. There's not any of these huge standoffs at like a compound in the middle of basically nowhere, outside of Waco, outside of Butte, Montana. All this stuff going on. It's like, this is super interesting because there's so many layers to it. You don't know what's going to happen. The mindset, what these people on the inside are thinking. The feds on the outside are probably pissed off. So who knows what's going to rattle their cage, and they're going to just steamroll in. So and we talked about it all the time because our teacher was super cool like that. It wasn't like some old boss. It's like, we want to discuss this because this is something you might experience down the road, because we're starting to see some of this stuff pop up now with discontent from the 80s into the 90s, and you just want to have people away from government and have their own like little communes. It was interesting, and I love that stuff. It's always been stuff. My dad loved it. We'd watch all kinds of that stuff on like another 40 or 48 hours, another 48 hours, all the stuff on NBC from like 9 to 10, which was always like the real stuff. It's like, you watched, it wasn't fucking the CSI garbage. It was actually like, hey, here's a murder. Like, what's it now? The first 48 hours, or when you're trying to figure out like a murder, or how somebody died and something like that.
Well, the first 48, if you don't get a lead within the first 48, the chances of you solving a murder dwindle. Like,
yeah,
but
stuff like that, real life happenings, not Hollywood happenings. And I always gravitated towards that because I want to know what happened. I don't care about a fucking movie. It's going to be the same shit every time. Not at the end, you're not going to have everybody dead ever. So why do I care? I want to know what's going on here. So just to have all that stuff back then, it was always try to learn about all that, because it's fun. For me, it's fun. It's a horrible way to put it. But just to have the psychiatric or psychological aspect of what people think, and why did you do what you did? How did you get to that spot in life, and why did you continue down whatever path you went?
the problem is 99% of the time you never find out the why.
Oh, I know.
The real why.
No, I mean, you can surmise with all like hey, this happened, then this happened. You can sort of piece together, but it's like, well, that might not actually be the real reason why everything just fucking fell apart. So
Dave, if you ever get a chance, there's since you like that type of stuff, if you can find Very Scary People, it's a quote unquote docu-series. It's hosted by Donnie Wahlberg, of all people. But it covers all like the major serial killers. Sometimes it's one episode, sometimes it's 2 parts. Some of which, like, I've watched enough of them that there's some individuals that I've never heard of.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like they're from the 50s and 60s type situation. It's things that happened more recent, but it's like maybe it didn't make it to local area news where you live because it's in California or Washington State or, Maine. But so Very Scary People. And there's one, it's called How It Really Happened. And some of it focuses on like serial killers. Others, it's there's one, like there's a 3-part series of John Benet Ramsey. So I mean, there's a lot of things. There's Bernie Madoff stuff in there. There's the Clinton Lewinsky scandal, but it covers all of those type of things to where it gives you like the stuff leading up to it, and then you get like what happened, and then all of a sudden it kind of like circles you back to the stuff leading up to it. It's actually pretty well done. in my opinion, because it's not like it just goes in, chronological order. It kind of like does one of these.
Mhm.
It goes back and forth. So you get bits and pieces going this way. Then you get like the event, and you go through the event a little bit, and then once it comes back from commercial, you kind of circle back a little bit, and you get even more of the details leading up to things. It's interesting the way that they do it, but it's a pretty good show. I have a few still recorded I need to watch.
On what platform?
Uh, is it ID?
Okay.
Is it ID? I think it's ID, but it's also they first 48 is on there from time to Forensic Files. Forensic Files is another show I like to watch, but I've always been intrigued by crime and forensic science and stuff like that, though too.
Well, yeah, that's the
Paul, you're not on mute, by the way.
typing in me. When I had cable, that was something I watched all the time, and then oh, what were the two called? I know the one with Joe Kenda. Fucking watch that religiously.
Yes, I know the one you're talking about.
Because I just
Joe.
I love that because again it's a it's actual shit that happened. Not
Yeah.
again obviously of the time because he's old as shit and they're going back 30, 40 years to some of his different stomping grounds. I know he was in Colorado for a long time, but it's like that one and then is it Fear Thy Neighbor or Love Thy Neighbor? Whatever one that one was, because that was another one where there's always some neighborly dispute that ended up in like hellish tragedies. It's like you put a fucking fence in and you didn't measure it right and you didn't take it down, and that person fucking bulldozed it over, so the other neighbor that put the fence up like shoots the neighbor that bulldozed it down. It's like over a fence. I'm like, okay. Those are shows that always make me feel better, a little better about my life. It's like, okay, I'm not as out there as I think I am. Because I might do this if I get pushed enough, but it seems like these people, it's like, oh fuck, the kid threw a baseball in the yard, and you're like throwing firecrackers at the kid when he gets it.
Yeah. Those are some misdiagnoses throughout life of people not realizing that they're like sociopath, psychopath, which, those individuals have a tendency to, it's not a survival of the fittest type mentality. Like, I need to protect myself. It's okay. There's some misfires going on.
Obviously, you've never had a fence worth that you don't want bulldozed over, Steve. I mean, it's the only natural reaction is to go off the deep end and, a little red rum. And
well, then again, the fence that we recently put in was over $5,000. So yeah, I may, but that would require me to own a pistol, which I don't own. So
you're in Texas.
It's for good reason. It's
you're
for
in
good
Texas.
reason.
But it's funny, you watch enough First 48 and somebody gets killed for over $10. So, I mean, $5,000 fence, $10, same thing. Like,
but is it the same thing? In those situations, typically it's you would call that a robbery gone bad, that, they were hoping and thinking that somebody had more than $10, but, they obviously don't know how to case people and figure out those who actually have the money worth, doing something for, right?
Well, that's another thing I love about the first 48 is, the family afterwards, oh, he was a good man. And then the narrator goes, Jim died when he was trying to steal the money off a drug dealer. He's not a good guy. He had something coming his way. So,
Yeah, it's somebody took the last donut murder spree, allegedly. I'm sure that's probably a thing, some sort of workplace violence. But anyways, we're going morbid here, which then again, what else is new when we get on certain topics?
These are a lot. I bought these.
Leave it to Dave.
No, just wait. These are the last 2 books I bought like a week and a half ago when we went down to Duluth. So let's go to Barnes and Noble. Told Naomi get some books. That was one I wanted to get. Again, it was the Doctor in Auschwitz. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Again, this isn't me just rambling. I've got tons of books, tons of DVDs, tons of stuff about this. We went to Savers. What did I buy? There's a bunch of stuff I bought there of World War II. If they had Bundy, Gacy, all that stuff, I would buy that too, because if it's a book for a few bucks, again, you can look all this shit up on the internet. I'd rather. I told Trista, I don't know when the fuck I'm going to read books. Again, I don't have time to do anything I want to do now. The fuck am I going to? I'm not a librarian. I can't just sit there and sit by the Dewey Decimal System and say, "Fuck you, kids. I'm going to read today."
Microfiche, man, come on, microfiche.
Yeah.
Go look it up on microfiche.
I got all kinds of that time, so I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's stuff I want to do, because something might have a line in here. Something might have a couple paragraphs in this book. There might be something over here that nobody has said yet, and it's like, I want to look into that. So just all that stuff, as always, and I know I've said it here, I've said it on the channel, I genuinely love learning about World War II. And they had on, I've said this too, I know, on the War Channel, I don't know what the hell it's called now, when they'd have the World War II in color. When those episodes would be on, it'd be like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. I'd probably watch 80% of them. I've seen them all, but still, you're always learning about that stuff because you might have missed something. You're just in awe of like what's going on, and again, it's in color. All that film footage you remember from a kid going into whatever class, it's like, okay, here's another boring history class with black and white footage of bomber planes in World War II. Whatever. As you get older, that stuff, I don't want to say you appreciate it more, because it's not like you appreciate war, but you appreciate the sacrifice and like when you have a world war, everybody's in the war somehow, shape, form, or fashion. So it's like that's where it starts just being interesting, because you can't be like, well, all of Africa's together, gang, and we're bowing out. Sorry. No, you guys are in it. That northern battlefront was a huge, and the early goings of the war was monumental. And just to think that, like, it's not like, okay, somebody's not in the war like directly, but in the same vein, okay, there's a port in like Rio de Janeiro, we got to go there because of something else, and transfer stuff up this way, do that, do whatever. It's like, it's interesting enough where you can keep learning and it doesn't get boring, unlike opening boxes with expired redemptions.
I was waiting for some sort of segue. I knew it was going to happen somehow, shape, form, or fashion.
That was well played. I mean, it was a long, winding road. We touched on the worst of humanity and got back to Panini and redemptions.
I was gonna say, I ended with touching on the worst in humanity, and then we also talked about serial killers in World War II and Nazis. So I mean, Panini snuck in there at the end to trump them all.
Well, some people may consider Panini a bunch of Nazis, so
I
not completely far off, I guess.
they're moving up the list.
Like I kind of alluded to, one showing up on my doorstep. It's like I can't tell you the last time I've claimed a redemption. That would require me to open product, right? So who freaking knows where the hell that even came from? Because I went online to see, potentially like closed orders or anything like that.
Yeah.
I had nothing. So I'm like, okay. I mean, I'll take a free card. It's a PC player. Granted, it's not in Denver uniform, but it's still a PC type thing. But okay. See, you missed out, Dave. You missed out.
Story of my life.
Yeah, well, most of us could probably relate. But
So
Dave, sorry, Paul, go ahead.
so for myself, like I don't open a lot of wax. I know Upper Deck has some redemptions, but how far back are these Panini ones go on that people are talking about here that I'm sort of out of the loop on?
I know Brad had, what was it, 13? There's a Mike Gillisley, I don't know, gold standard. Let's say that gold standard because I think you got Stephen Ridley gold standard in return. And I think there was one other, like a 13 or a 14. And again, these aren't players of, I don't know, who was there's a contenders. Dion Jordan. Because it was like the third pick in, I think, that 13 draft, the DN from Oregon. So again, at the time, probably, again, a lot better of a card, even if it's a defensive player. It's a third overall pick. It's a guy for your team. You're looking forward to that card. That's why you acquired it. And I think he got Jordan Reed in return. So again, I don't know if they just looked at the name and said, "Hey, it's a Jordan in there. Let's throw it that way." I mean, this guy's got 2 redemptions out there. Both are Dolphins.
Jordan Reed at least had some upside for a bit.
And that I know, and that's what Brad notated in the video. It's like, well, he had a couple good years, and he would have been better if he didn't run into the goalpost or anytime he fell down, he was concussed. And I agree with that because I know I had him in fantasy a couple years and started off like a ball of fire and then went down like the Hindenburg in a ball of fire. And I get to a point you're not going to have everybody emailing you. Well, what do you want? Because we've said that before. We've had, I know on somewhere in the show in the archives, it's like, well, what do you want? Trout, Vlad Jr., Tatis, again, previously, Acuna, Kobe, Giannis. I mean, you're going to have the same stupid people say the same top 10 people out there. You're not going to have many people say, well, I just want Dolphins. Give me some current Dolphins and I'll be happy. Or what's your team? Ravens. Here's a Tony Banks card. Sorry about it, but it's a Raven. At least you get something for your team instead of, hey, here's a Patriot, a team you fucking hate, and Jordan Reed, which, like, I don't give a shit about the Redskins either. So, okay, we're 0 for 2. I mean, the sell value, not that he's looking for it, $10 maybe, if he's lucky. If you find somebody a taker for the Reed, the Ridley's probably an Everett Wenzel card. So what it becomes then and this isn't like, okay, he bought the packs. Like, no, we're talking a little bit about that. Like, hey, I want to go buy some 07 UD Premier. I want to fucking pull an AP. I want to pull a quad or something. A lot of that shit was all redemptions. We're also talking about Brad fucking got those in the year that the shit was released. So you're saying fucking Mike Gillisley, who I think one of his first couple of years had a decent little 2 or 3 game spurt. So you're saying, let's say 2015, 7 years that you couldn't figure out this cocksucker wasn't gonna fucking play, and he's out of the league. He's flipping burgers at goddamn Jack in the Box. He ain't fucking signing that shit because he's not contractually with the NFL anymore. Who fucking cares? He ain't like, I don't give a shit. Stickers, I'll fucking stick this on the Happy Meal box. I don't care. At what point, as a business, do you take any fucking responsibility? Again, one of the reasons of Panini's downfall, and say, hey, we're sorry this dude ain't gonna sign, not in the league, things didn't work out. What can we offer you? Just you can have a generic standard email for that shit. Again, within reason. Put that somewhere in there within reason. Again, if you had a Trout auto, find a Trout auto somewhere else within the Panini line. But again, Mike Gillisley, then what do you want? Can we find you a Travis Minor from like 2001? It'll be a Topps card, but hey, it's a Dolphin. Another Mike Gillisley, no, Michael Agnew, somebody. Instead of being fucking cunts and like, oh, Brad Smith, you get that guy, this guy here, fuck it, who cares? There you go. You get those 2 cards. That's what you get. Again, they're not high dollar cards, but it's the principle of the matter.
And I don't disagree, but on the flip side, let's look at the other end of the spectrum. Let's look at Topps. Somebody sending in a Topps redemption of an Otani or an Acuna or a Tatis at the time in which said card was acquired or manufactured last couple of years. And oh yeah, well, we know we're not going to make this card. Let's send them Joe Blow and some packs of cards that are like $1 a piece, like Topps opening day.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not anywhere close on the same spectrum as far as value is concerned. And let's face it, as a collector, we don't talk a lot about value, but when you're thinking and you're talking redemption, if I send in a low tier rookie, then let's face it, I at least want something that's close in quote unquote value per se. You can't go from a $5, $6, $7, $10,000 card to basically, hey, here you go. Here's about $100 worth of shit, and expect that to be okay. So you got to look at both sides of the spectrum. Yes, Panini is losing traction per se and not fulfilling things 5, 6, 7 years for whatever reason. And at least they're doing something. Something is better than nothing. But on the flip side, and I saw the head tilt there, Dave.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, like I said, from a Topps perspective, you go from a $5, $6, $7, $10,000 card to $100 worth of shit. Now, to me, that is worse than like getting, but at least you got something.
Oh, I get that.
Because on the top side, I can't sit there and say, well, at least you got something. No, this is a load of crap. This card has value of X. If you know you can't fulfill it, I better get X worth of value. But let's face it, this is not anything new by any of these card manufacturers. Prime examples. I'll give you some prime examples. Personal experience. Upper Deck is just as bad as Topps and Panini. 2007 Exquisite Football. I opened a case from my local shop. I'd always wanted to open Exquisite. Great rookie class. I opened a lot of 07 products. Mind you, they don't ever bother to tell you that, Calvin Johnson, AP, good luck.
Yeah.
Marshawn Lynch, those guys, good luck. I pulled some nice stuff, pulled a 101 Craig Davis RPA, sold it for like $300, which, at that time was pretty high considering.
Mhm.
But there were a couple cards. Now, something else for those who don't know, Exquisite is hand packed. It is not run through a machine. It is hand packaged. So you have individuals that pull cards from stacks and they put them in the box that goes into the box itself, and then it gets put in the bag and then put in the box and whatever. So
Mhm.
these are done. Go fly a freaking kite. But and it's going to sit here and take forever. So hand packed.
Mhm.
You would think, being hand packed, there would be better quality control. I sent in 3 cards for replacements because they were hammered to all hell. Hammered. What happened? I got them back. Sorry, we don't have replacements. And they gave me some Upper Deck Draft from 2008. Thinking that was going to be sufficient. It's like I paid $300 a box for something that was hand packed. You don't have replacements for the cards in question. Okay, so give me something comparable.
Mhm.
And don't send me packs of 2008 Upper Deck Draft. It's your
Yeah.
cheapest freaking product. I get it. I'm not a Diamond member. I don't spend tens of thousands of dollars. But, that year I spent close to that. It's like you're supposed to take care of your customers.
Mhm.
I did get all my redemptions. I will give them, they fulfilled all my redemptions that I got fairly within a reasonable amount of time. But even some of those were dinged up. And I mean, I get it. That's a risk that you take. But at the same time, it's like, put yourself in the customer's shoes. I spent X. These cards are torn to shit. Thank you for sending them back, by the way. But don't compensate with sending, 8 packs of Upper Deck Draft thinking that, oh, yeah, I'm happy now. Yeah, I'm going to buy more. I'm going to spend more. No, kiss my ass. I'm done. Of course, I wasn't, but, I'm sure they hear that all the time. But, and one of those cards happened to be, I ended up sending it to IM 140 as a gift, was the Patrick Willis numbers auto.
Okay.
So it was numbered to 52, I think. Nice card. But they sent it back because they didn't have a replacement, which, like I said, I wasn't expecting them to actually have that card per se. But, I mean, come on. So this has been ongoing forever and a day.
Mhm.
But we have a tendency to put more focus on it nowadays because of the increased value in the space. So it's me personally, and I know you said, Dave, that the topic really doesn't pertain to stuff from the 90s, but even then, I would still be very leery,
Oh yeah.
even opening stuff from that era, depending on the rookie crop. Like me personally, I wouldn't open up anything 98. Why?
Nope.
Because the rookie crop and people nowadays are too shady. Like you have to have trust in where you are getting said product from. And at this point, we all know you can't trust BBCE.
No.
They're at 2 strikes, probably more. We only know about 2. Your local card shop, if you've been doing business with them long enough, maybe that's your best bet. But I'm not going to buy something like that, like off of eBay, and run the
Not-
risk of stuff being resealed. Not doing it. And obviously, Paul has something to say, or he wouldn't have muted himself.
It's, the thing with redemptions right now, Upper Deck has hockey, Tops has baseball, Panini has football and basketball. So you're kind of, there's really no incentive on them to put out awesome customer service. I mean, they want you to buy their crap, but I totally get what you're saying, Steve, is that you bought something, whether it's box or whatever, and you expect to get something. I just am not sure what the solution is unless you go multiple brands per sport anymore.
Well, and it's my biggest, and I know there's a reason. And, Carlos, please feel free to chime in not so many words. In the conversations you had with Carvin, there's a reason as to why redemptions have expirations. And I'm guessing that has to do with contractual obligations with said athlete for the number of autographs in which they are supposed to produce. But to me, from a contract language perspective, mind you, I'm not a lawyer, nor am I claiming to ever be one, nor will I ever claim to be one. A simple change in the contract language would eliminate the need to put expiration dates on redemptions. Because, in all practical purposes, this isn't like food. It's not like they go bad. So how can an autograph technically have an expiration? But from an inventory perspective, I'm a little worried. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, appreciate it. From an inventory perspective, we're talking about cards. Unless you have hundreds of thousands of cards, how much room are you actually taking up? Or millions? I mean, 5,000 count boxes hold what, 4,600, 4,700 cards, give or take. They don't actually hold 5,000 cards because of varying thickness, but let's say 4,700 cards. That 4,700 cards could amass to one player over 15 brands, potentially. I mean, I get the I get the inventory considerations. Plus, if you house inventory, you pay taxes. Blah blah blah.
And I think that's why sticker autos have become a thing. Is this card's no good. We'll just peel one and put it on. But even that has its limitations, from what I gather listening to Brian Gray and whatnot.
And and I get that too. It's just it's one of those in which we're not in the industry, and we as collectors always want to know and understand the why, but at the same time, for those who deal with inventory per se, understand ramifications for holding stuff. You pay taxes on it. And any legitimate card shop or dealer should be paying their taxes at the end of the year at a minimum, if not quarterly, for their inventory. Sorry. Not that any of those people watch our show, but I just thought I'd throw that out there from a tax purpose perspective, if it's a legitimate business. Oh, I forgot. Has to be a legitimate business. Damn, I forgot those. I forgot those qualifications. Oops.
Doesn't have to be
But
legitimate if it's about the cards.
touche, touche. But you know, it's since we're like I said, since we're not in the business, we're not in the industry. We don't understand a lot of the whys for things. And even though we've gotten some explanations over those talks that Carlos has had with Carvin, it still, to me, it poses more questions, and it kind of makes you scratch your head. It's like, okay, I get that, but what about this? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? You know, it's Vinny, you have a take on this?
No, but I had other takes on other things, so that's why I'm letting you go.
Go ahead. I am retracting and extending it to you, sir.
Thank you. So first off, Paul's reveal this week ruined my. You know how when you don't meet somebody and don't know what they look like, you kind of get an idea in your head. So he and I both like the show Shoresy. So for all this time, I've imagined him looking like Ted Hitchcock or Hitch from Shoresy. Not exactly what I thought. So that whole thing's gone. So I can't think of. He's a real hockey player. Terry Ryan plays Hitchcock on Shoresy. So not knowing what Paul looked like, that's what I assumed Paul looked like. So that's now I have to like relearn Paul. So when I see him, I'm like, okay, that's Paul, not Terry Ryan. So that's number one. Number two, I think Dave needs to do some copyright infringement on our folks over at Sports Card Radio, because they apparently say they're going nuclear on the we've been way too soft on the influencers, businesses, and people who have pumped some of the scammy companies in this hobby. Way too soft. We apologize. But basically, the rest of this year and all of 2023, we will come with a bigger blowtorch. Sorry we haven't been hard enough on these beeping scrubs. So this should be interesting. So once I saw that mushroom cloud, I'm like, Dave Archer's working for, these guys now?
I
It's odd.
commented on them today.
Yeah.
I said, hey, nice thumbnail.
The other thing, then I'll get to back to the topic. I found this podcast for hockey cards. It's called Puck Junk Podcast. If you ever listen to it, it's a guy from, I think, Pittsburgh, and this other guy named Sal, and I think he might be from the Chicago area. I was like, this is fantastic. So I thought I'd mention that on today. But Puck Junk, they're quite good. Apparently, the guy that does it is a big old hockey card collector and kind of famous in Canada for being a big hockey card collector. And he was talking about some obscure sets today, which I really enjoy. So that was pretty cool. So when I hear stuff like that, I like to share it with everybody. And then lastly, biggest one I want to go after now is the old Panini stuff from 2010 to what? 2014, 15. I guess that would be the range for Panini's reign in hockey. But first of all, finding the stuff. Second, the price. Third is how much research am I going to have to do on redemptions? How much of that stuff, was the black 101? Could you get those in a box? Am I going to be able to find that in Le Beckett? I don't know. And I always see these boxes, and somebody made me an offer on one of them the other day. And I was like, number one, it's too high. Number two, I don't know enough to go digging into that box to find something. I know what comes out of it, but I need to sit there and read, because I'd love to find, the gold version to 10 of anyone, because they go for a ton of money, and you could probably use it as trade bait. But are those actually in the packs? What's the insertion rate? Do I have to buy like 30 boxes to see one? Those are my thing. The pack pull ratios, the redemptions, like Steve was talking about. I feel safer. I don't want to say it, because you know as well as I do the big thing that's gone on with some of the Connor McDavids and the Sid RPAs, where the patches have miraculously changed from a napkin in a cup card to this miraculous 3-color card. Because even my buddy, he lives back in Pennsylvania. He's like, "Hey, Vinny, check this out. This is at the new, like, inside the old mall, the dead mall that it is now. They opened sort of like a giant flea market where people have tables." And it was a picture of Connor McDavid's RPA, and they wanted $250 for it. First off, is it because of the socioeconomic area that he lives in? And I'm staring at this thing, and I'm staring at it. So I looked at it, and then he sent me a second picture. Well, here's the thing about the second picture. The serial number on the second card, which is the same card as the first card, are the same. So 01 out of 99 and 01 out of 99 with two different batches. So they're fake RPAs. I worry about,
or their proxies, or their remakes, their reprints.
Which they are, because I went there and I looked at them, and he didn't advertise them because he wanted $250 a piece for them, but they were definitely not real. After looking at them for 5 or 10 minutes, I even slid behind the counter to look at the backs. Hologram was off. It was just because I had a picture of a real one, and they were both Fugazi. I worry about more of that after they're open than actually when they're opened. So opening a box, I feel like the cards are altered after the fact. We haven't seen the Pokemon effect in hockey like we've seen in other things. The G.I. Joe inside the case. I don't know if I'm worried about that as much as altered after the fact. So I'd probably be more comfortable. Then I think about this: 05, 06, 15, 16. So you got Sid Novi, and then you have Connor McDavid. Out of all those, which boxes do you think are going to be altered? 05, 06, 15, 16. So it makes me wonder about any of those to be suspect of them. So,
yeah, but you also got to look at the price point.
Yeah, the price point. I remember where I think I was talking to Joe the other day about what was it, 0506 Fleer Ultra. And at the time, you could get them for like 60, $70 a box. And I should have probably bought 5 or 6 boxes and just sat on them because they go for almost 400 now.
Yeah, but that's which is in what I mean by the price point though. So you look at the first edition Pokemon case, you're talking $1 million plus, or what was it, 3 million, 2 million, whatever the frick it was. It's not important, but in the millions.
Yep.
Prism basketball, you're talking $15,000. So it's a big disparity. 86, 87 Fleer basketball. They hover right around 150 grand, 160, 180, right in that area type situation. You're talking about a much higher price point. Now for like the cup, 0506 the cup, you're probably talking in the same vicinity of like first year Prism basketball. 15, 20K. And something like that, you can damn well better believe that there's somebody out there trying to figure out how to do that. But with the cup, it's one box, one pack. Prism, however many boxes per case, it's a little, you have a little bit more leeway of being able to kind of finagle crap. But on the flip side, it's no different than like Magic. People have been repackaging old booster boxes of Magic for years. And there's things that only seasoned veterans know what to look for. Like I would never go and take somebody's word at like a flea market or something like that on something that's from the 90s, because I'm not an expert in that. So I wouldn't be willing to take a risk unless it's, hey, couple $100. Well, a couple $100, if you can afford a couple $100, yeah, then it's, high risk, high reward, or low risk, high reward. But 1,000, 2, 3, 4, 10, 50, whatever, when you start getting into the commas, then it's a whole different perspective.
In the conversation we had the other day, I'm going to spend $300 on that box of Fleer Ultra. What does it cost me to buy the OV and sit out of there straight up?
Probably $500, $350,
okay.
$350 to $500 estimation.
Exactly. And my chances of getting them in the box, what's my chances out of the rookie crop that's in there? So you have to do a lot of math to figure it out. Is it fun opening? Be a blast. But again, and then you have to think about the other thing. It's I think maybe Paul and I were talking about this. The metal of last year. They pulled the Ovi, they pulled the Sid, the gold. So the Ovi, the Sid, the McDavid, I think the Deutsch Dangler, all those guys have already, Vasilevsky, Malkin, those guys have already been pulled. The green PMGs, I don't know about all those, but I know the golds have been pulled. So right there goes the odds of what are you pulling out of that thing. Can you still pull something decent? Probably, maybe. But the big boys are already out because, Hossa Cards on Instagram, I think he has 13 or 14 of those golds. I mean,
which should then reduce the overall sealed box price.
Yeah,
as those continue to get pulled.
And they're still $300 a pop, I think, because there's still some stuff in there. Now I saw pre-sales of what would be 2021, 2022 metal, and I think Better Half paid $200 a box for 2020. Huh? Well, I'm trying to do the math. 2021. So it's $50 cheaper this year to get into it. Pre-sale. But at the time, remember, we waited for
6 or 7 months.
She bought it in November. No, she might even bought it in October, and we got it in August the following year. So you're talking
10 months.
almost 10 months. And I was listening to that Puck Junk podcast, and they were talking about what's coming out in a flurry of stuff in December, allegedly. This is what's going down. And like he said, there is no possible way they're going to put out, I think he named 8 products from now to the end of the year. How are they going to?
It's possible because they're trying to get their numbers.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on, because every company is different of how they, of course, report their numbers. Years ago, I think our year end, back when the company, before we were acquired by who we are now, I think our end of year was March.
Yep.
Now, of course, we're on a standard calendar year.
Yep.
So, it's January through December, but not all companies do that. So depending on what they're trying to hit for their fiscal year in numbers, and if they're trying to throw that many out there in December, it's possible that they're on the standard calendar year. So it is possible. It's all going to be dependent on the printer and the packaging or the packager. So
it's going to be an interesting.
I think Upper Deck, somebody was saying, might have been Carlos was saying, they're doing the printing now in Italy, so it's got to come across the ocean somehow, and that adds a little bit of complexity versus printing in wherever they normally print. So,
well, and they're probably not going to pay the expense for air freight either, just because of whatever these logistics companies call it. There's an increased price for air freight coming across the ocean.
Yep.
And most people aren't going to wait 60 days for ocean. So, from Italy, it's maybe 45 days, but still.
I think it's 1920 the cup. So the last product for 1920 is the cup. It comes out in January. So we still need 2020. No, that's 2021, the cup. So yeah, the last 2021 product is going to come out of January 2023. And then we have to wait for 21-22, the cup, which will come out like the following January, or hopefully sooner. I'm still waiting for last year. Allure still hasn't come out. Synergy hasn't come out. Metal hasn't come out. So, there's a lot of stuff still with last year's rookie crop that could be some banger products. And the more I hear, OPG Platinum is starting to, with the seismic golds and the rainbows, they're starting to grow on people. So that product's price went up. So a box, I was talking to, it was Paul the other day, the Allure, the original box. I got them from a guy in Tennessee for, I think, $50 a box 3 or 4 years ago. They were at the expo for $270 Canadian. I went on David Adams, $299.99. So it's interesting. And I couldn't find an 05-06 the cup, but David year cup hockey sealed hobby box, $6,630.74. The next year is Austin Matthews, which he's getting a lot of hobby love, more than he did before. For a case of 6 boxes, 14 G's. That's a lot of Panini. For what? A pack with 6 cards in them?
Yep.
But if you get one of those Austin Matthews RPAs, it's more than 14 G's. But again, Math.
There's no guarantee, and that's the thing. It's like the only way you ever get true numbers is if somebody is like multi-billionaire who could literally open pallets to make the determination of exactly what the true numbers per se look like. Because for those seasoned veterans, pack pull ratios are estimated. The only thing that manufacturers have started doing is the guarantees is guaranteed one auto or one memorabilia per box, or guaranteed 2 autos per box, or guaranteed whatever. It's the hits that they guarantee. Everything else from a pack pull ratio is estimated. So just because it says 1 in 24 doesn't mean that you are technically guaranteed that you're going to get one of those inserts per box. It's possible you could get shut out. It's also possible you could get lucky. You could get 2. It's or more for that matter. I mean, they are estimated. So for those people out there who keep running numbers as it pertains to certain things and calculating odds, the only way you actually can truly get an idea is by opening pallets. And then you have a better chance of extrapolating that data. 10 cases is not enough. 20 cases is not enough. It's got to be a ton in order to extrapolate the data. I get a lot of the calculations that people use, and it's not off base. I'm not like trying to poke holes in their thought process, but it's still, they're only looking at it from a small subset, and they're making assumptions. And of course, when you make assumptions, you better have good reasoning to back up those assumptions as to what you're using to make those calculations. So high risk, high reward, and a lot of, especially in the high end crap.
We just figure out what the sticker code number is, like they did for
Crown Royal.
Kabooms, and yeah, and just figure that out. That mystery with our, we use Dave's Pinnacle decoder or score decoder, and I'm sure that'll tell us the secret sauce recipe to it all.
Well, and there's, it's, and I'm a realist. And I think some of that, I don't want to think that that's planned. I think it's coincidence in a lot of situations for whatever reason. Because if that were the case, everybody would have figured out everything from every product at some point for any card or insert subset, whatever. I think that's coincidence. And it just so happened to fall on said serial numbering. I could be wrong. It could be something in which they do something from a tracking perspective. But to me, that would get overly complicated because those go through a specific process, and it's all done. It's done by computers, which means it can be done. But at the same time, that would take some pretty extensive coding in order to sit there and be like adding additional computations to where, estimated pack odds for certain things getting randomly inserted. But because of this, it's going to get this serial number. Granted, anything can be programmed. Let's face it. Anybody who's smart enough who can do computer programming can probably figure out what that is. But me personally, I think that in itself is a coincidence. It's not like back in the day for 97 Donruss Preferred, you could actually measure or weigh the tins and figure out what had a PMG in it. Or I should say a precious metals. Because the weight was different. You could weigh the box, you could weigh the tins, and you could figure out which ones had the precious metals in them because they weighed more.
Mm-hmm.
And for anybody who's held one, you know that. You know that they're heavier. See? Okay. Because I'm sure you've talked to Brian and posed the question. And that's the thing. It would take an extensive amount of programming and algorithms and calculations in order to actually physically track something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is there some things that are a little wonky, a little suspect, with the whole backyard breaks pulling X number of big cards? But on the flip side, you could say the same thing potentially about Chris. Chris has opened some huge cards in his extensive run of breaks.
Mm-hmm.
Chad has pulled some huge cards in his time of doing breaks. The more you open, the chances increase for the possibility of you pulling big cards. If I'm not mistaken, Chad pulled the Derrick Rose out of Exquisite Logo Man.
Mm-hmm.
At the year it was released. And I mean, that huge card at that point in time. Huge.
Yeah.
Not compared to the monetary values of today, but at that point in time, that was huge. And he pulled a ton of big cards. So the more you open, the higher chances you are going to get something big. Let's face it. And in no way, shape, form, or fashion am I freaking supporting backyard breaks. But people need to focus on their other issues that they have going on instead of trying to formulate a conspiracy. Because, like Carlos said, of course, this is from an upper deck perspective, but it's although suspect, very, very difficult to know for sure that something like that would occur.
Yeah, for them, I'd rather focus on how they're fucking over customers instead of getting loaded cases. that would be, again, I wouldn't put it past Panini to be doing that. At the same time, like you said, it's going to be tough, but they should be under that microscope constantly for their shenanigans and tomfoolery because they're fucking idiots. Their mothers or somebody, they should have swallowed them or put them in a fucking Kleenex and flushed it. Because that would have been done the fucking world a better a service instead of spitting them out or C-section and fucking doing the world a goddamn disservice. So,
well, and Carlos calls it out, and from a quality assurance, a QA perspective, Panini has been known from a box placement in cases that designate like the bigger hits or the case hits. That I've seen that specifically. And I hate to say it, a lot of card shops, once that stuff kind of circled through the grapevine, they took advantage of it. They pull those out on purpose and keep them for themselves and try and recoup that money quick. So that I know for a fact is 100% accurate. But card specific, no. Hit specific, like case hit specific, or depending on case layout, because sometimes you have an inner case, you have like certified. It was always a master case was 24 boxes.
Mhm.
which was 3 inner cases of 8 boxes. Gridiron Gear was 2 8-box inner cases. So in that situation, and coming from somebody who opened a crap ton of stuff from the shop, Panini, and it actually stems even back to the Donruss Leaf playoff days, that stayed consistent. But a lot of the people who were with DLP stuck around and were employed by Panini. So, like, the same concept was still in place. So, and I opened a ton of it over the years for the shop to see a lot of that. Now, I kept it to myself. I didn't go run my mouth and tell people. I didn't even tell the shop owner. Topps is the only one that I could never find a rhyme or reason. Upper Deck was another one. I never found like anything out of the norm or something that seemed, I don't want to say shady, but fishy maybe.
Mhm.
Panini, it didn't take long to figure out for said product. If you opened up 2 or 3 cases, it's like you pay attention to the first one, you get into the second one, and it's like, oh, wait a minute. Yep, it's the same. You open the next one. Oh, yep. I'm gonna save this one. And lo and behold, it usually held true. So I saw that one definitely from a personal experience perspective. That's for sure. But I'll still stand behind and second Carlos's statement of the fact that being card specific, that's that's kind of a stretch. Possible, but it would take a lot for somebody to be able to create the algorithms and the programming and everything else from the computers for the pack out process to actually track something like that. So
Yeah, a couple of thoughts.
Go ahead, Paul.
Couple of thoughts here. Like Upper Deck, watching enough breaks with the modern stuff. If you watch Zuri Gaming, like Vinny and I do, he opens what is it, SP Authentic. The autographs are always, it's a box of 3 rows of 8, I think. Autographs are always on the left-hand side. So I think Upper Deck is, some of their products is, you can figure it out, but yeah, sort of got distracted. Squirrel.
That's usually Vinny's thing. Squirrel.
Yeah.
See, and something to keep in mind though too, Paul. A lot of the stuff that I opened for the shop was lower end stuff. Back in the day, SP Authentic was considered high end because it was 100+ a box at the time. But I opened a lot of lower end stuff, and like for Panini, it didn't matter. For Topps and Upper Deck, I never focused on like the box itself. I was focusing more on box placement within a case in those situations. But I could see how, depending on how the machine is programmed for a box out, then I could see where something could fall in the same place every time because of how it's laid out and what the number of packs per row in a box per se. When you open 4, 5, and 6 cases at a time, you don't focus on that. You open a case, you pull out all the freaking packs, you rip through the packs. You're not, and it's one of those in which you're not focusing on that. So I never got to the point of looking at it on the box level. It was always on the case level. So, but I could see how that would be a thing. I mean, that I could see that for any and every product. That once somebody opens enough of it, they can figure out where the hit's going to lie. Which, let's face it, if you're a shop owner, if you watch stuff or you open enough, you shouldn't take advantage of it, but there are a lot of people out there who are going to sit there and ultimately take care of themselves before they take care of a customer. But that also goes into, he had one customer that after he opened so many packs, if he pulled X number of hits out of a box that was open for pack purchase, he would ask for another box to be opened so he could buy packs out of the new box because he knew. Shop owner got a little frustrated from time, quite a few times, but if you think about it in perspective, it's, hey, there's 10 packs left here. I've opened 5. I pulled 2 hits. There's only 3 hits per box. My chances of getting anything out of there reduce based on the number of packs left. Can you open a fresh box? And I'll buy more packs out of this box. So you increase your odds of getting a hit. So, holy crap! It's coming up on 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I just now realized it.
Well, it was that hour-long detour through serial killers that kind of set us off here. So
This is true. This is true. We'll blame Dave for that, but then again, don't we always? So, Dave, I think you can. Here, I'll make it easier for you. I'll bring us back up to where we normally sit.
That's better.
Oh, shut up! You liked it.
Yeah.
It doesn't even.
What? What was that?
Huh? What? Squirrel.
There's no dogs barking in my ear right now. I don't know how to. It's like Ricky Bobby. What do I do with my hands?
Jinxed.
Exactly.
All of them at once.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never diversion.
Always on time.
Yeah. So
Hit that thumbs up button so Carlos can send Eric a bill.
yeah. Thumbs up for Eric. Comment, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Thank you for watching. Joining in, chattering. Yeah.
Paul needs to come back on video at least for the outro.
He's had enough. He's no more.
Actually, I'm lagging with when I'm on camera, so.
Thank you to Paul for coming on here. When I went through his expo videos, he said he was off for another week. I'm like, this will be the perfect time to get him on because otherwise it's near impossible. So when you're dodging moose, Santa Claus, and whatever else is up at the North Pole, walruses and polar bears, there's very little time to come on camera and talk about very important subjects like Jeffrey Dahmer, documentaries, and other John Wayne Gacy who weighed 400 pounds at the time of his death. So again, thank you. And then that guy just stops and now. Glad to finally get you on the show.
And we're in November, so hopefully here soon we can get Yannick on here too. It's getting close.
Yeah.
So again, thank you, Paul. Thank you, everyone joining in, jumping on, chatting. Makes the time go by very quickly, and that's one of the goals too. That doesn't seem like you're forcing 2.5, 3 hours, which is always nice. We said, remember, like for sure, comment, subscribe. I don't know what the hell you're talking about, Bobby.
Don't forget the
OnlyFans, of course, it's a Patreon.
That's next week.
Yeah, the holiday preview OnlyFans. What the buy-in is and what it will entail. So, varied tiers of subscribership. So you ready? Yeah. Thank you again. Remember, every Tuesday night, 7:35 ish p.m. Central Standard Time. So, same time next week, maybe a little earlier, closer to the 7:35. Not so heavy on the it, but so for Paul, for Steve, for Vinny, Dave, it's been the Instant Revolution podcast. Remember, collecting cards, wonderful journey. The friendships you forge along the way, that's what really matters. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.